Yo, what's up guys? It's Luke here from Blue Room Academy, and today I'm back with a new video. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided to leave my job, pack all my shit, and move halfway across my country to the beautiful city of Cape Town in South Africa. So yeah, we're in my brand new studio right now. Yeah, enough of the bullshit. Let's jump into Ableton and start making some music. Okay, so we have this track here that is heavily inspired by Eastenderz and PIV. Two house labels in Europe that are doing extremely well right now. A couple of other artists that I based this off was Dimmish, Archie Hamilton, Sidney Charles. It's a very popular sound. This project is at 128 beats per minute. It's in the key of E minor. Before I break down each and every single element in this track, what I want to do is play the whole thing back to you guys so you can have an overall listen to the way it sounds. Here we go. Okay, cool. So you guys get the idea of the track. So starting off at the top, we have our bass group, which consists of 4 bass channels. At the top, we have our main bass layer, which is this VST plugin called Ample Bass, which is a fucking lifesaver, actually. I can't even tell you guys how many bass VST plugins I've tried before. And besides the Contact library, this is the best thing that I've ever used. It comes with a whole bunch of different sounds and presets inspired by John Legend, Michael Jackson, Pink Floyd. And yeah, there's some interesting tweaks that you can make within this plugin, including like starting the channel off, starting the melody off with like a little bit of a slide. You can even mute the strings. But we just have it on the normal sustain. It's got all these different sounds at the top here as well, including like little like slaps and different strings. So that's exactly what I utilized in this pattern. We've got the main melody being played here, and then every now and then we've got these slides coming in. Just adding a little bit of variation to the bass. Underneath that, we have an instance of ample guitar as well. But what I did was I basically duplicated that exact same layer above, put it down below, changed the presets, and then consolidated it, froze it, and bounced it out to an audio. So could basically throw on a fuckload of effects and make it sound really cool. It sounds like this. So we've just got this little shot, this dun dun, happening every now and then, and it's just complementing this main bass layer. So underneath that, we have this kick layer. We've got a thumpy 909 kick drum, and I've thrown a spectrum analyzer on here to analyze the key of the kick. Basically, if you're working with a lot of samples and you don't know the key of your kick drum, what you can do is just throw it on there and then throw on a guy called a spectrum analyzer. And what happens when you throw them on there, you'll get this nice big image of the frequency range of your sample. And you'll see there at the bottom corner, it says that this kick drum is in the key of B, which is cool because we are working in the key of E minor in this track, and B is a fifth away from E. So it works with the bass. Right underneath the kick drum, we've got this little instance of a reverse kick that's adding a little bit of impact to the drop. So it's just like winding in that first kick. And yeah, that is pretty much it for the bass. Moving on, we have our drums. Our drums are quite a lot of layers. We have our main hat, which sounds like this. We have a clap. We have this closed hat playing at a very low volume. Another open hat playing at a very low volume too. And a little glitch loop too. We've also got the skippy hat. We have a shaker. We have rods. And finally, we have a snare drum. Altogether, the drums sound like this. Yeah, pretty straightforward and basic. I believe don't have much processing happening on here. I've done a few little tweaks and tricks. Basically, this main hat in the beginning of the track, I've squeezed the transients out of him, so he is not poking through that much and is not so sustained. And then over the course of the track, a couple bars down, we start opening the transients of this guy until eventually he is basically almost fully open by the drop. And yeah, just to get an idea of what that sounds like in the beginning, he sounds like this. And towards the drop, he sounds like this. Subtle change, but you can hear that the hat's a lot more open. It's got a little bit more character. Moving on, we have my favorite part, which is the synths. And now I've done some very interesting shit with the synths in this track. Starting off at the top, I'm pretty sure I just dragged this in from a sample pack. Underneath them, we have this pad, which is a stock standard Ableton preset, Andreas wide pad. And I am basically just slowly opening the filter cutoff of this guy. Yeah, so he's very subtle, and then towards the drop. So right underneath the pad, we have an instance of the Korg M1. This was originally a loop that was recorded on the Korg M1, and I've just taken the first little shot of it. I know he's been used and abused in every single fucking house track, but hear me out. I did something very interesting with him. I came up with this idea when I was listening to an artist named Dimmish. He's an Italian producer, and in a few of his tracks, I think it was his track Red Light, he did something where basically the sound or the sample that he was using was kind of like dub delayed and almost like distorted at the same time. He used an instance of erosion. And erosion can make some very, very, very interesting sounds if used correctly. Basically, what he did was he automated it randomly throughout the track, and then towards the drop, it kind of all closed in together. So you hear what I mean. You'll hear and see this automation on the erosion. Okay, so you can hear that that erosion is kind of like playing around, and then eventually when everything is kind of like faded away in the track, that sound really pops up. I also used an instance of Rat Shack Reverb to do this. Also like a very nice little dub delay plugin. I use them way too often. I think somebody needs to uninstall them from my computer. I really I really enjoyed doing this interesting little thing. And, you know, if you have this plugin, you can really start fucking around in some very interesting ways. So yeah, you can get some very interesting sounding things when you mess around a little bit. Yeah, so underneath the Chord Game 1, we have this synth, I believe I grabbed from a sample pack. Yeah, and all of these synths underneath here are more additive synths. We have this swoosh effect. Little synth with the filter opening, resonance pushed up high. Also grab this little hit from a sample pack here. Underneath that, we have this dub chord delay. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's a stock standard Ableton preset. If you just go into sounds, you type chord, dub, and you're gonna find it. And I think usually it will come basically with a set of chords, but what you want to do is put it to no chord and then just make your own little chord progression there. Essentially what I've done is drawn in the envelope into the automation of Ableton so that it's kind of got like a little bit of a hit. Yeah, and the secret is to really just kind of mess around with the filter resonance of the sound to get an interesting sounding synth. But yet again, you don't want to push it too much, because if you push it too much and you listen to it, that resonance really starts to destroy the harmonics in the synth itself. So yeah, you want to be careful of overdoing it. Don't push that reso up too much, but play around with it to get some interesting sounds. Underneath that, we have a little synth loop. Another little synth from Silent. It's also stock standard Silent presets. You know, when you open up Silent, that's the sound, and just turned off the arpeggiator. And also drew in the envelope myself with the filter cutoff. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the synths. I'll solo it so you guys can hear. Really enjoyed working on the synths on this track. Underneath, we have the effects, which consist of 4 channels, top one being a cymbal. Yeah, it's not as aggressive as your standard 909 crash, and that's what I thought would fit in this track. Underneath, we have a impact. I think I also just grabbed that from a sample pack. Underneath that, we have a vocal shot, which is very low in volume. We also have this vinyl noise, which, I mean, you can hardly hear it in the mix, but it's adding a little bit of texture. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this track. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Project files of this track are going to be available on my Patreon, so be sure to go check the description of this video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.